back to my channel. I am back with another review. This review is for Baddies USA Chapter 2, Episode 1. Let's get right into it because this episode was wild. So I love the fact that they started off this episode showing an opening fight because that's what they used to do on the Bad Girls Club, and it gives the viewer something to anticipate for later on in the season. And let me tell you, this opening fight did not disappoint because it was crazy. There were so many fights breaking out. I couldn't even keep up with how many people were fighting in this scene, but the one fight in this scene that actually caught my attention was Big Lex and Rollie. I can't believe the two of them actually put hands on each other because this was not something I was expecting at all. I thought they were cool. So what happened that caused the two of them to get into a fight? Well, I think they had already gotten into it prior to the fight that happened in this opening scene, but we didn't get to see that part. We only got to see this little fight that happened afterwards. From the looks of it, from what I gathered, it looked like TT and Diamond the Body were fighting each other and they fell to the floor, and it looked like Rollie was trying to jump in the fight to hit TT, and that's when Big Lex jumped in and tried to swing on Rollie. It looks like Rollie spit at Big Lex, and that's when Big Lex ended up leaping over and she started fighting Rollie. And look, I know some people were saying that Rollie was keeping up with Lex, but from what I seen in the slow motion of this fight, I do not believe that she was keeping up. She had her eyes closed and she was swinging with an open hand. Lex had a closed fist and she was catching Rollie in the face. Now, I'm not going to say she landed every hit. She didn't, but the hits that Lex did land were all face shots, and it looked like she had Rollie swimming. Now, Rollie was swinging. She was fighting back because we know that Rollie's always going to fight back. I'm not going to say that Rollie lost this fight, and I'm not going to take a side in this situation because I don't know exactly what led to the two of them fighting, but I'm not going to lie, from this little clip that we've seen, and I watched it in slow motion, it looked like Lex was working Rollie. Now, I'm not going to take a side in this situation, and I think it's crazy that people have already started taking Rollie's side because we don't even know why the two of them ended up getting into it to begin with. At least let the episode air before you decide. But I'll say this, that was a great opening scene. So the episode starts off with the girls being in LA, and Natalie is filming a music video that she has with Diamond the Body and Cold Killer, and they all looked great. One thing we can say about Natalie is that she puts the baddies on. She puts money in their pockets. She makes them more visible, and I love that for them. But Bahati and showgirl Neek end up showing up to talk with Diamond the Body, Cold Killer, and Natalie, and I think it's good that they're adding some of the BGW girls because I think they need a little bit more attention because we only got one season of them. And then on top of that, I think it's cool for the Cabaret Girls to be a part of this season too because they kind of fell to the background. I don't understand why the girls from Jocelyn's show don't really get put on like that. But Natalie ends up making a comment about trios, and Cold Killer immediately shut that down and said that she's not a part of a trio, and she never said that she was. And the reason why she's saying this is because she feels some type of way about K Rican, which they addressed in this episode, because Cold Killer said that K Rican was doing some weird stuff on the internet, like throwing subs out there, and so she's the one that broke the ice and decided to speak on it publicly because she felt some type of way. I'll say this, I feel like if K Rican had an issue with Fauna and Cold Killer because they didn't have her back at the reunion the way that she felt like they should have, I think she should have talked to them about that instead of going on the internet and sneak dissing. But I also feel like Cold Killer and Fauna do have to take accountability for the fact that they really did not have K Rican's back at the reunion. They had each other's back instead. Now, Diamond does end up asking Cold Killer if she's going to jump in if she fights Fauna, and Killer said that she wasn't going to jump in, and she didn't jump in at the reunion when they fought either. And Diamond the Body was being a little bit messy, but she was right. She did bring up the fact that Fauna and Cold Killer only jumped Tavy, but they didn't jump the other people that were fighting, K Rican. Like Tinka, who was whooping K Rican the entire reunion. But Killer says that the reason why her and Fauna jumped Tavy is because Tavy's a man. I feel like they always felt that way about Tavy, so if they never really liked Tavy and they felt like she was a man, they should have never pretended to be her friend in the first place just because they had a common enemy, and that's all I'll say about that. But Natalie ends up giving all the baddies an assignment. She tells showgirl Neek that she needs to meet with the other Cabaret Girls, and then she tells Diamond the Body to meet up with the Thats Zeus Girls, and then she tells Bahati to meet up with the BGW Girls, and her and Rollie were going to meet up with the trios and bring Cold Killer with them because Cold Killer also has a trio that needs to work things out. The one part of this episode that I would say was kind of boring and a little bit pointless was the meetup between Natalie, Rollie, and Scotty. I feel like Lemmy just wanted to make sure that Scotty wasn't forgotten, which she's not going to be forgotten because she's been a big part of the show, but he just wanted her to be a part of this season somehow, so he squeezed her in. And I just think it was unnecessary for Natalie and Scotty to have yet another conversation about their friendship. I just feel like we're tired of hearing about it. We never get to the nitty-gritty of what really went down between the two of them, and I don't feel like either one of them is innocent in the situation, so I thought this scene was kind of pointless, but it is nice to see Scotty as a mom and to see the baby. That was cute. But then Natalie ends up FaceTiming Tommy, who claims that she was on on the toilet at the time. I don't know. Tommy is crazy and she'll just say anything. But Natalie tries to get Tommy to meet up with Sarra, and Tommy was saying that she didn't know Sarra, which I think is funny because even if you didn't know her, you teamed up with her so that she can fight Biggie because you weren't friends with her anymore. So what's the issue with the two of you meeting up with each other? But she seemed like she didn't want to deal with Sarra at all. Now, Sarra and Tommy do actually end up meeting up with each other. They're having a little sit-down conversation, and Tommy walks in with this black bunny purse, okay? And I got nervous for Sarra because we know the last time she had a bunny bag with her, she had something in it and she used it. So I was nervous. I was hoping that security definitely checked Tommy's bag before she sat down with Sarra. Sarra basically has an issue with Tommy because Tommy let her get jumped and Tommy did not jump in to try to help her. And Tommy claims that she did not see Sarra getting jumped, but we know that Tommy's lying. We know that she definitely saw Sarra getting jumped and she didn't care because the reason why she brought Sarra in the first place was to take the heat off herself so that everybody would go at Sarra, and that's exactly what ended up happening. Now, Big Lex and Tavy did try to get at Tommy at that time, but we know that most of the energy was brought to Sarra. Now, I don't fully feel bad for Sarra in this situation because she had to know that Tommy was using her, but I do feel like it was wrong for Tommy to let that girl get jumped like that and not even try to get in there and try to help her out. She could have even tried to break it up, but she didn't do anything. And Tommy basically says that Sarra was a flunky for her. She said that she only brought Sarra so that Sarra could fight for her, and then that's what Sarra ended up doing. She claims that Sarra was hired by her and that she got Sarra paid. Now, Sarra does admit that Tommy did bring her in to give her this opportunity, but says that just because Tommy gave her that opportunity doesn't mean that Tommy gets to little girl her and treat her any way that she feels like she can. And so Tommy and Sarra start going back and forth about parenting, and Tommy just gets up and walks away and she goes outside. And when Sarra looks over the balcony, she sees that there's two other girls outside making comments towards her, and so Sarra goes downstairs. It's that girl Dolly who's been going in about Big Lex every day on social media, and then this girl Treve that we don't really know, but we've seen her in the blogs too. So Sarra goes outside to press this girl Dolly that's friends with Tommy, not to be confused with Bad Dolly. This is a different Dolly. And this Dolly was hiding behind the car and behind security, so Sarra wasn't able to get to her. But this girl Treve immediately starts swinging on Sarra, so Sarra starts swinging on her and snatches her wig off. And I'm like, damn, Tommy can always find a flunky to go after people for her. And I don't even understand why this girl Dolly and this girl Treve would even fight for Tommy, because we saw what she just did to Sarra. Because Sarra didn't end up winning the fight against Big Lex and she got jumped, Tommy ended up discarding her. She'll do the same thing to these other two girls, and she's definitely not going to have their back if they get jumped. But so Sarra and this girl Treve start fighting with each other, and this first round, it seemed like a tie to me because they were both swinging at each other. They both kind of fight similar, but I'm not going to lie, that girl Treve fights too sloppy, so it's easy for her to lose. But while security is trying to break up the fight between Sarra and Treve, the girl Dolly runs up from the other side of the car and she jumps up and tries to swing on Sarra, and I feel like that girl is scary because when Sarra runs to try to chase her, this girl jumps in the car with Tommy. But this is the same girl that's been on social media the past few weeks complaining about getting jumped by Lex and Ivori, even though we see her in this first episode starting trouble trying to be Tommy's flunky, trying to jump Sarra. So Sarra and Treve start fighting again, and this time Sarra definitely got Treve, and she got her again too because Sarra ended up having Treve pinned down in the passenger seat of the car, and she was whooping her in there. We didn't really get to see that much, but we can tell that that's what was happening. And while this is going down, Tommy and the girl Dolly are laughing at Sarra through the window, and I just think that that was lame of Treve and Dolly, and I hope that those two don't actually end up getting put on for next season because I just felt like the way that they handled this, they shouldn't be able to be on the show. And I'll say this, the reason why people think they can get on the show because of this is because Sarra ended up getting on the show after attacking Biggie on behalf of Tommy, so these other girls feel like they can get put on too if they do the same thing. But this scene kind of made me have some type of respect for Sarra. I'm not gonna say I like her just yet because I have to see how the rest of the season plays out before I can say that. This is just one episode, but the way that she handled herself in this particular scene, it made me kind of like her a little bit. Now, Baddies goes to meet with the BGW girls, and at first Daisy shows up, and the two of them go back and forth because Daisy immediately starts confronting Baddies about posting her address and her house on social media, and I do believe that if Baddies did do this, that was wrong because we know that that's not safe. People take these shows way too seriously, so somebody could have ran up to that house and did just anything, and then on top of that, she also has children, so I do think that if Baddies did do that, she was wrong. But I don't like that Daisy's trying to play innocent, like she didn't do anything wrong to Baddies. Bahati too and to other girls on the show as well, because she acted like a big bad bully on that show. And while Daisy and Bahati are going back and forth about who's raising their kids and who has money for their kids, that's when TT and Hurricane M end up showing up, and obviously we can tell that they're not on Bahati's side and that they don't like Bahati, but they seem to be cool with Daisy. So Daisy and Bahati are arguing with each other, and that's when Hurricane M ends up jumping into the conversation, and she starts going back and forth with Bahati for jumping her at the reunion. I don't really think that Bahati was able to jump Hurricane M, but I definitely think that she tried to, but she just wasn't really successful because security grabbed her. But even if Bahati did jump Hurricane M at the reunion, it's not that big of a deal considering the way that Hurricane M ended up, acting on the show. She was acting like a big bad bully on the show too. So Daisy ends up walking away while Hurricane M, TT, and Bahati are arguing with each other. TT kind of stood off to the side, and Hurricane M and Bahati start fighting with each other. They fight like 3 rounds. Honestly, the fights weren't really good. Neither one of them really did anything. I'll say at one point I felt like Bahati was getting the best of Hurricane M because at first she was swinging more than Hurricane M was. And then another round I feel like Hurricane M was getting the best of Bahati, but both of them were just grabbing each other a little bit too much and holding on to each other. It wasn't a lot of swinging going on. That's why I say they didn't really fight that well. But when the fight got broken up and Hurricane M was off to the side trying to breathe a little bit, that's when Bahati runs over there and Hurricane M tries to throw a kick and she slips and falls, and TT immediately stops Bahati from being able to put her hands on Hurricane M when she fell to the floor. I'll say this, I do wish that they would have casted one of the other girls that was actually cool with Bahati from Baddies Gone Wild. I feel like they should have casted, Shay or somebody, because I just felt like Bahati being by herself with these 3 girls who don't like her and attacked her all season, I felt like this was a little bit of a setup. Now here's where things really get crazy in this episode, because now it's time for the Now Thats Zeus girls to meet up. Diamond the Body is in charge of getting all of them together. Ivori, Diamond the Body, and ET meet up with each other. None of them have an issue. They all hug each other. They're cool. But Ivori and ET seem to have a problem with Pressure. So as soon as Pressure walks in, Ivori hops up and the two of them start fighting with each other. And as soon as they start swinging, ET jumps in. And I thought that was so annoying because I would have rather watched them fight one-on-one. And it wasn't giving that Ivori actually wanted to jump Pressure. It was giving that she wanted to fight Pressure one-on-one, but ET jumped in. But Ivori and Pressure do end up having a one-on-one fight, and Ivori got that pretty quickly, and Pressure barely got to do anything to Ivori. Ivori was catching her, and then Pressure fell, and Ivori just ran up and popped her. And then ET and Pressure have a one-on-one fight, and neither one of them really got to do anything because security was in the way, so neither one of them really got to touch each other. So for me, neither one of them won that one. Ivori and Pressure do end up having another fight, and this round, Pressure was able to get in there with Ivori. I mean, she didn't do that bad. This was kind of a tie, but I will say that Pressure fights a little bit sloppy, whereas Ivori's swings are a little bit cleaner. But during this fight, they start saying F your baby. Like, the two of them were saying F your baby to each other, and I'm like, damn, they have issues that deep. I mean, I didn't watch the show that they were on together, so I don't know what their issues are, but I think we should leave family and kids out of it. But I can't say one was wrong and the other wasn't because they were both saying it to each other. Then that fight gets broken up and ET runs up on Pressure, and I'm sorry, I will give this win to Pressure for this fight between her and ET. I felt like ET was fighting a little bit too sloppy and her eyes were closed, so I feel like she lost. Then Ivori runs up out of nowhere and she pops Pressure, and I'm like, damn, they are really taking this girl through there. She didn't even get to walk through the door and say anything before they started fighting her. And then Diamond doesn't even really have an issue with Pressure, not that I know of, but because Ivori's beefing with Pressure and the two of them are friends, Diamond tries to swing on Pressure too. And while they're fighting and security's trying to break it up, ET runs over and she pops Pressure from behind. And Pressure was saying that she was leaving because she was done with them for the day, and all of a sudden ET runs up and she pops Pressure and Pressure falls in the seat. And then Diamond and ET start trying to fight Pressure as Pressure's trying to leave, and then Ivori tries to fight her, and it's like they're all in the corner bunched up and security's trying to break it apart. I'm like, this scene was absolutely insane. Like, these Now That's TV girls did not come on this season to play at all. Now, Natalie and Rollie end up going to meet with the trios, and the first trio that they end up meeting up with is obviously Mariah Lynn, Tasiki, and Biggie, because we know at the recent reunion for Chapter 1, Biggie and Tasiki ended up getting into it because Big Lex ended up popping Biggie real quick, and her and Tasiki ended up hugging after that, and Biggie felt some type of way. And I'll say this, Biggie did have a right to be upset at the fact that her friend hugged somebody that she just fought. However, I don't think that she handled it the right way, and I feel like she's a little bit of a hypocrite because she did the same thing to Tommy at a reunion when she hugged Rollie after Tommy and Rollie were just beefing and they fought. But it didn't really seem to me from this scene that Biggie wanted to have issues with Tasiki, because she hugged her when she walked in, and then at the end of this scene, Biggie and Tasiki do end up hugging again. But Tasiki did give Biggie a warning. She told her not to call her a weird ass bitch anymore, and I feel like Biggie might not do that again, because this time Tasiki might not be so nice. I'm not saying that Biggie's feelings were invalid because of the timing of the hug between Big Lex and Tasiki, but like I said, Biggie can't be upset for somebody doing the same thing that she's done before, because we've seen her do it to Tommy at a reunion. And then even in this conversation, Tasiki said that when she was beefing with people, Biggie was still cool with the people that she was actively beefing with. So now Natalie and Rollie have another trio that they have to meet up with, and that's Dolly, Summer, and Lex, the big three. And it was sending me the pictures of all three of them together when they were friends. That shit was funny to me, I'm not gonna lie. And Dolly and Lex were also laughing about it because, I mean, it was funny. Lex starts saying that she felt like if Summer had an issue with her and Dolly, she could have talked to them about it and they could have worked out whatever issue that they had. But instead, Summer decided that it was a good thing to provoke them and constantly provoke them. And even when they gave her numerous warnings to leave them alone because they didn't want to have to fight her, she continuously provoked them, and then they ended up fighting her. And Dolly said that she knew how Summer was, but she never expected Summer to treat her the way that she treated other people. So now she understood how other people felt when they had to deal with Summer, because now she's in their shoes. So I like the fact that they're not victimizing themselves, because they know that, you know, they knew who Summer was. They just didn't think that she would do that to them because they were friends and they had her back. And Summer's not a victim in this situation either, and I wish that fans would stop trying to victimize Summer, because she's not a victim in that situation at all. She could have talked to them about whatever issue she had with them, and if she decided that she didn't want to be their friend anymore, she could have left them completely alone instead of constantly provoking them, and she did that, so she's not a victim to me. But Summer walks in and she was basically saying that she didn't care, that she's not the one with the issue, Dolly and Lex are. But every time I see Summer in the blog, she's talking about Dolly and Lex. Even just recently, she was talking about them. And then when they respond to her on social media, Summer's fans come at them and say they're obsessed with her when Summer brings their name up first. It is annoying that they're not friends anymore, because I did like them as a trio, but I do like them individually as well. I'm still working on liking Summer because some of the things she does I don't agree with. But Summer starts talking about her accomplishments, and then her and Dolly start going back and forth with each other, and Dolly calls Summer a baddie turned blogger, and you can tell that that kind of annoyed Summer because she referenced it recently on social media. But Dolly runs up and the two of them start fighting with each other, and Dolly won that. I mean, she was taking Summer through there. Summer didn't even get to put her hands on Dolly at all in this first round. Summer definitely lost this fight. And then Summer starts walking away. She's saying that she's not going to fight Dolly again, that Dolly wants a storyline. And I think it's funny how whenever somebody else turns down fighting somebody, Summer says that they're duck and wreck and that they're scary, but then when she does it, it's okay and it's excusable. But then Summer realizes that she left her purse in the other room, so security tries to go bring it to Summer, but Dolly runs up and she throws it, and then she runs at Summer, and the two of them start fighting out the damn door. Summer did pop Dolly in the face with the wig. I'll give her that. She did pop Dolly in the face with the wig, but Dolly definitely took over the rest of that fight, and Summer ended up falling outside, and that was the end of that. The big three, whether they're a trio or not, they are very entertaining, and I'm glad they keep bringing them back because they bring a lot of entertainment to the show. This first episode of Baddies USA Chapter 2 was good. It was very entertaining. It was very chaotic too. It was a lot to handle, but it was a good watch. So let me know what you guys thought about this episode down in the comment section, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video.